Test 1 2. everybody, and then at that point you go into the yeah. So you got 1, 2, 3, and
Alex.
4. 6. I don't have that in front of me. Do you have a regular?
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first meeting of the BOI here for 2026. If you would, Debbie, would you mind doing the Pledge of Allegiance for us?
No problem.
Yep.
Right hand of your heart, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Linda, do you need to take a roll?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Jones. This meeting is being conducted as a virtual and in-person meeting. So we'll do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Ms. Ginsburg? Here. Ms. Mee? Here. Mr. Kehoe?
Present.
Mr. Fay?
Here.
Ms. Martin? Here. Mr. Gatto? Ms. Martinez?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
And Ms. Langton?
Here.
Thank you. Trustees, please use your raise your hand option to be placed in the queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mic until you're ready to speak. And now we will proceed with the agenda.
Okay. So item 4 on today's agenda is the ratification of the new slate of officers here for the 2026 calendar year. Our president or acting CEO, Louis Lugo, submitted the slate of board officers. We have a seniority-based system. For those who may be new, would you explain the setup for that, Louis, before we go to our vote?
Yes. Good morning, trustees. Good morning, Chair Jones. I just want to, in your packets, you have a memo that details the board rotation policy as well as the recommendation based on the board rotation policy. So it's just a matter of now the trustees ratifying that and having discussion. So I kind of leave those comments at a high level.
Okay. Super. All right. Welcome, Trustee Gatto. So do I need to have a nomination?
We need to do a motion for
Okay.
that item.
Can I just have a motion for the in support of the recommendation from staff about the current slate of officers?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Okay. Ms. Ginsburg? Yes. Mr. Razzo? Oh, I'm so sorry. I have the wrong attendance. Well, joint meeting, sorry. Ms. Ginsburg? Yes. Ms. Mee?
Yes.
Ms. Langton?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Fay?
Aye.
Ms. Martin? Abstain. Mr. Gatto?
Aye.
Ms. Martinez?
Aye.
And Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay.
I'm sorry, with one abstention.
Yeah, one abstention on that one. Is there anything else that needs to be done?
Yes, so we need to do an election for one member for the JOC seat and 3 members for the audit.
Okay, that's done by me or by the new chair.
Should I pass it on to me and then I'll take over the election? Of
That's what I
committee
thought. So I was trying to figure
There
out
you
when
go.
does the gavel take place?
Here's the ceremonial passing.
I was like,
of the
so what else is
gavel.
there?
Yeah, I'll let you guys
Yes, thanks.
do it directly.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you all. Congratulations to all the officers on the board. Our next item is item 5, the election of the committee members. We have one trustee that we need to elect to the JOGC, the Joint Organizational Governance Committee. I will open up for nominations. Don't all jump up at once. We'll need to nominate a member of the Board of Investments for the JOGC.
See a lot of enthusiasm here.
Can you nominate yourself?
You certainly can.
I'd love to do it.
She's already from the BOR.
You are already there from the BOR.
On the JOGC or on Acre?
Let's go to the judges.
Wait, didn't we? Yes, you did.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Harris appointed you from his one vote.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Then I would like to nominate Debbie Martin for the position. Okay,
She's retired anyway. You got time.
That goes
I mean,
well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you get another time.
okay, if there's no objection and no other nominations, I move to close nominations.
So moved.
Okay, then it is so ordered since there is no opponents. Moving on to the Audit, Compliance, Risk, and Ethics Committee. We need to nominate 3 members for that position. So let's go ahead and open the nominations. Okay,
I'd like to nominate Trustee Martin to on the committee, also be the chair. And she has been doing a great job the past 2 years. She's the only one who's here. So we'd like to
Perfect.
have her.
perfect. So we'll nominate her to for that position. I believe they're gonna vote on the chairs within the committee. For the second position, is there another name for submission?
Go ahead.
I was gonna nominate Bobby Fessler.
She's not on the BOI.
BOI. These are all
Oh,
BOI
yeah,
stuff.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is all BOI stuff.
Sorry.
I'm on it already.
That's what I was thinking. I just remembered.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll nominate Nicole. Are you on it? I'll nominate Nicole for the. Okay, we need a third nomination.
If I may, I'm
Please.
sorry. I would love to nominate Trustee Gibson.
She's already on it.
Oh, she's on it? Okay.
Then I want to nominate Trevor.
No.
Bay.
There you go.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, now we get to the spot where we would ask for a fourth nomination. If there's a fourth nomination, then we'll need to do votes. Is there a fourth nomination? Hearing none, I motion to close nominations. And if there's no objection, these are our 3 members of the audit committee. Thank you all. Let's move on to placing us at tabling this meeting. So if there is no objection, we would like to table this meeting and then begin a joint session of the Board of Retirement and Board of Investments. So without objection, let's go ahead and move it over. everybody. I'd like to call to order the special joint meeting of the Board of Retirement and Board of Investments. Today is Wednesday, January 14th, and the time is 9:35
Recording in
a.m.
progress.
Myself and JP Harris arm wrestled over who was going to chair this meeting. Although I lost, he did graciously let me run it, so you're stuck with me. We will go ahead and pass, no offense, the Pledge of Allegiance, since we already did so, and move on to item 3, which is our procedures for the teleconference meeting, SB 707.
Thank you, Mr. Keough. I will do a quick attendance of the trustees. I'm gonna first call on the trustees that sit on both boards. Ms. Ginsburg? Here. Ms. Langton?
Here.
I see you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Keough is here.
Present.
Mr. Razzo?
Present.
Ms. Fessler?
Here.
Mr. Pantoja? Mr. Green?
Present.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Robbins? Mr. Rue?
Here.
Ms. Me? Here. Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Martin, Ms. Martin? Mr. Gatto?
Here.
Ms. Martinez?
Here.
And Mr. Fay?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Langton will be participating via teleconference section 54953.83. Just cause, taking care of a child. Trustee Langton, please confirm if there are any individuals 18 years or older present at your location.
No one present.
Thank you. Trustee Green will also be participating under Just Cause A, taking care of a child. Trustee Green, can you please confirm if there are any individuals 18 years or older present at your location?
There's nobody over 18 except for me.
Thank you. And Trustee Moore is going to be participating under Just Cause 3, not able to attend due to a physical condition. Trustee Moore, can you please confirm if there are any individuals 18 years or older present at your location?
There's no one here except me.
Thank you. We may now proceed with the agenda.
Great. Next item is item 4, which is the approval of the minutes of our December 4th, 2025 board meeting. We will need 2 motions, one from the BOI. So let's have a motion from the BOI first.
So moved.
And I'll second. And then we'll need a motion for the BOR.
So moved.
And-
Moved in second.
Moved and seconded. Okay, let's do the vote for the BOI.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Me,
Yes.
Ms. Langton,
Yes.
Mr. Gatto.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Fay,
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Yeah.
Ms. Martin,
Aye.
and Chair Kehoe.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
On to the BOR.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Mr. Razzo, Ms. Langton,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Ms. Fessler,
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Robbins, and Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Next item for business is public comment. We've received a request from the public to speak. So we will now go to Mr. Lugo, who will have some comments in open session for us.
Yes, thank you, Chair Kehoe. And again, good morning, trustees. Oftentimes when we start our Board of Investment and Board of Retirement meetings, we spotlight a member. So as we start this joint meeting, we do want to spotlight one of our own members, and that's Mr. Santos H. Kryman. Want to share a few words before we welcome Santos to the not the dais, but the front. I want to say on behalf of the LACERA team, the organization, Santos, we thank you for your leadership and dedicated service as Chief Executive Officer of LACERA since 2019. And also his accumulation of over 36 years of county service throughout his work career. During your tenure, you provided steady, thoughtful leadership through a period of significant change and complexity. Your commitment to LACERA's mission, to our members, beneficiaries, and to the health of the organization has left a meaningful impact. We're grateful for the professionalism and the care you brought to the role. As you begin the next chapter with your family behind you, Tricia and your daughters, we wish you every happiness and fulfillment as you transition to retirement. May this time be rich with new experiences, well-earned moments alongside your wife and daughters, and you leave LACERA with our deepest thanks and best wishes for the journey ahead. And with that, through the chair, if we can pass it to Mr. Santos H. Kryman to share a few words.
Please. Consantos.
Well, thank you, Louis. I appreciate the kind words, and I just wanted to say, Mr. Jones, it's difficult passing a gavel, isn't it? You should see it from my end. But I did want to just express my deep gratitude for the opportunity to serve as the CEO at LACERA. It is definitely the highlight of my 36 years in county service. I had the opportunity to help provide services to 10 million people. And then I was actually given the additional honor of helping our retired members, 200,000 people now, and also the active members, which is about 110,000 employees. And so I really appreciate that I ended my career the way I did in terms of serving those that serve. So I've been a public servant for 36 years. I've had a wonderful career, quite frankly. I never thought that I would start as a student worker with the County of Los Angeles and kind of progress all the way through and work in many wonderful departments. I had my start at the treasurer's office. I remember my first department head fondly, Sandy Davis, wonderful to me. And I went to the assessor's office and the CAO's office, and then the CEO's office. I also did a stint in the Department of Health Services. So I had a wonderful career. I had the ability to help build facilities that are going to be here long after I'm gone. Hospitals, General Hospital was one of my projects, Disney Concert Hall, a lot of health clinics, courthouses. So I had that opportunity as well. And it was just a blessing, quite frankly. And all of those experiences helped me to develop my leadership philosophy and how I wanted to be treated, so on and so forth. And so I was able, when I got here in 2019, to kind of use all of those skills and talents to try to help mold a successful future for this organization. And I have to say that I have to thank every single person at LACERA, all the employees that made me look a lot better than I really probably am. It was their dedication, quite frankly, that made sure that we're providing all of the important services. And I'm hopeful that they're going to continue to do that, because now that I'm a retiree, I'm going to rely on that particular, all of their efforts. It's been a joy, quite frankly. And I want to thank the board, all of the trustees of the BOI, the BOR, those that I worked before that are no longer here, and the present board members as well, because without your support, could not have accomplished anything, quite frankly. So we did it together as a leadership group, all the way from the trustees as the head and the oversight responsibilities. And I'll emphasize the oversight responsibilities for you all. I know that there's a tendency to try to get into the operational stuff, but oversight is really important as well. And so it trickled down. I do want to highlight a couple of people on my executive team. I'm going to see my management team later on in the morning. But I want to say, I want to recognize Steve Rice, quite frankly, who was an incredible partner in all of this. He's an attorney for me, and he kept me on the straight and narrow. I said, but the things that I think are going to endure, and as part of his legacy, quite frankly, is some of the operational stuff that he helped me with through COVID and all the stuff that I asked him to do that was not really legal related. It had a lot to do with administrative stuff. I think that his wonderful ideal about having an ethics and compliance division is definitely his doing. And so thank you, Steve, for helping me with a very difficult period of Sarah and myself. I also wanted to talk to JJ recognize JJ. He and I went through COVID together in terms of, when we didn't have anyone to talk to, we could talk to each other, and we commiserated with each other sometimes, and then we brainstormed and worked problems together. And so he was incredibly important during a very difficult time for not only LACERA, but the county and the nation and the world, quite frankly. So we lived that together. So thank you, JJ, for that. I do want to recognize Laura Guglielmo. Laura was a godsend, quite frankly. She was the city manager. We had talks about her experience, and she was administratively one of the strongest individuals, professionals in that particular area that I've ever met. And I've met a lot of them in my county service. So thank you, Ms. Guglielmo, for raising the standard, quite frankly. I did want to recognize Mr. Grable and Jude Perez, but John in particular, I wanted to say that I always viewed him as a partner in managing the organization, and I wanted to make sure that he had everything that he needed to be successful, because quite frankly, when John is successful, we're all successful. And so he was a great friend. He is a great friend. You're a friend, right? Just checking. We didn't agree on everything, but on the important things we did. And so we managed to manage the organization together, as opposed to, you report to me. That wasn't going to work with John. And so I really appreciate all of your help, especially going through COVID. And Jude, you are definitely, you should have a caller on, quite frankly. Sometimes we get frustrated. I have to go to Jude and say, hey, I don't understand.
Hey, Jude.
Hey, Jude. But he was a tremendous help with communicating and bridging some gaps that we had between the investment side and the pension side. And so I really appreciate that. I also wanted to recognize from my professional side, Louis Lugo, who took over when I got sick 10 months ago. I knew that when I interviewed him, he was the right person for the job. And there were a lot of reasons for that. I can go into that in great detail, but I think that he's demonstrated over the last 10 months that he's a very effective leader and has really clear vision. And he has a very, very bright future, I think, whether it's LACERA or he decides to move on or what have you. But couldn't have done a lot of the things without him. I gave him a lot of responsibility. I knew that it was important for his development in order to delegate a lot of stuff for him. I probably overloaded him more than I should have, but I do want to say thank you, quite frankly, for taking the helm when I was gone. It actually ran, I think, a lot better than when I was here. So thank you very, very much. I do want to recognize my family, and I promise, John, I'll stop. I do want to recognize my family, and if you can, my daughter, Sydney. So Sydney, this is my oldest child, my oldest daughter. So she is my hero, quite frankly, because when I got sick, she was the one that volunteered to step in and share one of her organs with me. Thankfully, God heard my prayers and all the prayers that you all said for her, and she stepped up and did everything she needed to do to get ready to undergo a surgery herself. Thankfully, she didn't have to do that. So this is my walking guardian angel that I have on earth. So thank you. Hannah. This is my middle child. This is Hannah. She and I, when I asked her mother to marry me, I asked Hannah if it would be okay if she would share her mom with me. And I'm grateful that she said yes. I shudder to think where I would be without her blessing, quite frankly, to marry her mom and build a life. And so I love you very, very much, Hannah, and I just want to make sure that you know that. So, and then my little one. Sorry. She's always crying, like her dad. So this is Molly. Molly was the child that brought my family together, quite frankly. She was an incredibly highly intelligent kid that drives me absolutely nuts. She's the one that gets away with everything. She's the baby of the family. And dad just can't say no to her, quite frankly. But she has a very bright future ahead of her. She wants to be help disabled children. And so she's on her path to do that. So I'm really grateful, and I love her incredibly. And I really do. So I love my girls. I'm a girl dad through and through. And then I do want to finally just say thank you to my wife, my beautiful wife. And she's not going to stand up because she doesn't like attention. She's not like her husband, I guess. But I just want to tell her that I've had 36 years of a wonderful career. And it's really because she allowed me to have that. She gave me a lot of peace in my life. I didn't have to fight her for anything. She allowed me to be who I am and grow. And as a man, professionally, she taught me what love is, how to care for people, and how to sacrifice. She was a teacher. She decided to stop teaching to care for our family. And so I'm totally grateful, completely grateful for that. And I just want to let her know that I'm sorry for being away sometimes when I probably should have been home. And, Oscar Wilde said that the best thing you can do in life is have the right regrets. I think I do have all of the right regrets, quite frankly. But she's been my North Star, the person that cares for me the most. And during this last few months of difficult health issues, she was incredibly strong and caring. And so I just want to say I love you very much, and that I was put on this earth to love you and to care for you always. And so thank you for everything. I promised myself I wouldn't do this. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity of a lifetime. It's been 6 wonderful years, a real capstone for my leadership journey in this world. And so I'm grateful. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Mr. Herman, thank you for your 6 years here and for all your dedication to the county. You have brought a strong legacy here, as we have said, and we're going to continue to grow because of a lot of the foundation that you put forth, and you led during an incredibly difficult time, but still continue to lead. And that is kudos to you and everything you've done. And thank you for bringing and introducing your beautiful family here. We definitely appreciate it, and we want them to know how much we appreciated him. And with that, I have the honor of presenting you with a certificate of appreciation on behalf of LACERA, and I'm going to read it, and then we can present it to you and do a photo. So in recognition of your extraordinary leadership, unwavering dedication, and distinguished service to the Los Angeles County Employees Retirement Association, your vision and commitment have strengthened LACERA's mission, guided the organization through unprecedented health and economic challenges, and advanced initiatives that will benefit our members for generations. Among your many accomplishments, you created an ethics and compliance unit to uphold integrity and successfully negotiate an increase in the Anthem lifetime maximum benefit cap for retiree PPO health coverage. With heartfelt gratitude, we honor your more than 36 years of public service and celebrate the lasting impact of your contributions. Presented this day, January 14th, 2026, by the Boards of Retirement and Investments and Executive Office and all of LACERA staff. Congratulations. Let's, do we want to do a photo?
Yeah.
Horseshoe up.
Probably in the horseshoe. How about you come back here? Is that better for the photo?
Where?
Better for the photo. So come on back here, Santos, to come in the center, and everybody can.
Shove these in the back.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I guess,
There you go.
I don't know the protocol, but we just stand.
Yeah, we'll put
Oh, and a big
Santos
circle.
right here.
Oh, He is the star of the show.
I'm being.
That's
Yeah,
okay, no
yeah.
problem.
I did say that. Let's tighten it up here.
Just a little bit, yeah. Stand sideways.
Yeah, 1 second. Let us move the chairs.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. no problem.
There we go.
We've done this before.
Yeah. This is the first time. Not the first time.
No, but, I'm sorry. There's nothing to hide. You're perfect.
Yeah.
One second.
Almost there. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Thanks so
Very good.
much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
We're missing one, and then the rest of
Don't
them
forget
need
it.
to be repositioned.
Hey. Oops. Too late to get this bill returned.
Well, we'll give it to you on your $1.
You do. You got that one. Keep moving them. Keep moving them. There we go.
Okay. So now, without objection, we will be moving into our executive session to discuss public employment for the CEO.
Can you make Mr. Kehoe
Okay, we'll go ahead and get the Board of Investment meeting untabled.
Recording in progress.
Perfect. We have left off at item 6, which is the approval of the meeting minutes of December 10th, 2025. I'll need a motion for that.
Motion to approve.
A second it.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Mees? Yes. Ms. Langton?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fay? Ms. Martin? Mr. Gatto? Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
And Chair Kehoe.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Our next item is public comment. Have we received any requests to speak? We've received no requests to speak, so we'll move on to item 8, which is our executive updates. For sake of time, I will just ask if there are any questions from any of our reports, or CEO or CIO report. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to our non-consent item, which is item A, the 2026 Strategic Framework and Initiative towards the Best-in-Class Investor. And Mr. Grable.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I have a presentation. I'm happy to walk through it in its entirety, or I'm happy to do a truncated version. It's just really up to whatever is the pleasure of the board.
I would say go with the truncated version. If there's any questions from trustees, we can address them.
Okay, so I don't have notes for a truncated version, but I will, let's begin on slide 2. And I guess this is live TV, so we'll do it in that way. This is a recommendation for the board. The recommendation is to approve the 2026 strategic framework and initiatives. And then subsequent to that, there are 2 follow-on items. The first is to initiate planning to potentially refresh that strategic framework. The strategic framework is known as Allocator to Best-in-Class Investor. And part of the refresh may involve the board evaluating itself, its role in that, and that's not something that staff can lead, such that Makita would work with the board on the governance aspects of a potential refresh to the strategic plan. So let's turn to the next slide, please. So this is the same framework that by and large has been in place since the board approved it in 2020. I think Mr. Kehoe was the chair in 2019 when we started on this journey. The strategic plan has been, or initiatives have been approved every year since, with additions. At first it was towards allocator, towards investor. We added towards best in class to make it that much more aspirational. In 2021, we added tied to the strategic initiatives. And then in 2024, when the board went through a governance review that resulted, some of which involved a delegation, we added the dynamic investment program module to this. But fundamentally, our strategic framework starts at the top of the pyramid. Every chance I have to talk about strategic asset allocation, I will. It's centered around strategic asset allocation. That is the part of this that maps the tightest to our mission to our members. Strategic asset allocation is our primary investment belief. So everything else in this framework supports that strategic asset allocation. So in many ways, I view the strategic asset allocation as our primary strategic plan. This is more strategic framework that includes that strategic plan. The dynamic investment program is really focused on governance, on a principles-based approach, and kind of a learning organization mindset. And part of that learning organization is something that we've adopted over the last year or so, is where we do some after action reports on good and not so good investments. And then the bottom of the triangle here relates to the strategic initiatives, from optimized investment model to enhance operational effectiveness. All these, once again, are designed to support our dynamic investment program and strategic asset allocation. Next page, please. And once again, the quote on the top comes from the investment policy statements from both OPEB and the pension that talks about the importance of board oversight. We group on this slide board oversight into 3 columns from the left to the right, from policy and strategy, which probably have the biggest impact. These are the high impact items like the strategic asset allocation, our investment policy statement, structure reviews, all the way to oversight and periodic updates. Periodic updates tend to be not less rigorous, but may evolve more rapidly. And this is everything from the CIO monthly report, which we refreshed last year, to notifications about new investments and redemptions. Let's turn the page, please. And once again, not to minimize anything that is on that page. All oversight is important. And I think that following, if we can go back 2 slides quickly, everything on the oversight column really comes from the hard work that the boards did in 2024 related to the dynamic investment program. That there was a lot of effort that went into refreshing every single policy and procedure and highlighting the importance of the role that the board has. Now we can go forward 2 slides. The next optimized investment model through enhanced operational effectiveness. These 5 slides are the same pillars that the board has had in place for 5+ years. We refreshed the look of it this year to simplify it a little bit. The objective of the pillars, which hasn't changed, is on the left. In the middle, we talk about progress, and on the right, their aspirations. The goal always is to be aspirational. This is kind of a North Star that we can always get better. With humility, we always view that our best is in front of us. So unless there's interest in going through any of these, we can I'll just mention the names of the 5 pillars, which we've talked a lot about with the board over the years. Optimized investment model, next being enhanced stewardship, I believe. Enhanced stewardship, is that the next one? If we could turn the page.
And to be clear,
Maximize
this will
stewardship.
be part of our discussion with the strategic.
Yes,
discussion
yes.
board.
So maximize stewardship, that goes from there to focus on fees and cost of capital. I encourage everyone to look at the report that we produced last month, an annual fee report that was provided, including the introduction of new fee metrics, which I think is really looking to elevate what we do in a very transparent way. That was slide 7. Go to slide 8, please. Also, last month, we had our annual Tide report. Our Tide report is on LACERA.com. There's also on our YouTube channel. The audience can listen to the Tide presentation, which was outstanding. Our Tide report and our annual stewardship report are both on LACERA.gov. And I think in many ways, stewardship and Tide, those programs and those reports are both progress and aspirational at the same time. And when we think about the trajectory of allocator to best-in-class investor, I think that these may be 2 of the pillars where we're closer to best-in-class. I think we've made tremendous progress. And on the next slide, one of the things that I'll flag here is that operations, I think, are things that many of our peers overlook. I think that there's tremendous alpha, durable alpha, that comes from focusing on people, process, and technology. And I think that we do a really good job by focusing on being effective, efficient as it relates to the operations of the organization. Turn to the next slide, please. And the next steps really is to should the board approve this framework this year and authorize this process. This is a process that we've worked with for multiple things, from asset allocation to Tide to this plan itself, where we survey the board, we benchmark where we stand vis-a-vis peers. We have discussions at the offsite. Hopefully we can do that this year, should the board approve it. And then we come back to the board for considerations. It will be, an iterative process like we do, but I think that this framework has worked for us, this structure in the past. And then the last slide just asks the board to adopt this recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions from the trustees? Ms. Langton?
Yes, thank you. My understanding is that the strategic initiatives are important to support and streamline an agency's work. Having worked with a number of agencies who create initiatives in practice, I found that the initiatives over the years have become increasingly wordy, increasingly vague, without necessarily a corresponding increase in its usefulness. So I feel like with initiatives, the reason we would use them is because something is broken, and we need to fix it. But those go one of two ways. It either goes by the agency complying by coming up with anything to present so that they present something, kind of like, for those of who are in the county, kind of like what happens with MAP goals. I can't tell you how many times we've come up with stuff, or my division chiefs have come up with stuff, no names, just to have something to use for a MAP goal. And that is a complete waste of time and defeats the purpose. And then in the alternative, I've seen agencies make it the focus of their work because they needed measurable goals. So you have to have goals, and then you have to have steps for each goal, and you have to break down who's going to do what, and you need timelines. And then that takes away from the day-to-day work with truly limited return. So with that perspective, when I reviewed our objectives, progress, and aspirations, I could see that a lot of work was put into it. But quite frankly, I found them to be somewhat vague, and I had true difficulty reading through them to understand exactly what we were doing. They were concepts, but they weren't, like there was no way to measure them at the end of the next year. I compared last year's to this year. And I want to be very clear that I'm in no way suggesting that investments provide additional specificity, because I think that having goals with steps, unless it's something like we do for the board of retirement, where we're really getting certain things done that mandatorily have to be done, these are aspirations. And I was trying to compare to last year's aspirations to see what we had gotten, how far we'd gotten. So I called John and I said, John, I'm not seeing the results from last year's progress to this year's, or the results from last year's aspirations to this year's progress. And he said, well, it doesn't exactly work like that. These are, he'll be able to explain it better than I do, but he said that these are things that are secondary to our asset allocation. Our asset allocation is our main objective. And so when he said that, I can't help but wonder if we're getting the benefit of our bargain with the way we're handling these initiatives. And I know a lot of time went into the initiatives. I know a lot of time went into this work by the investments. I'm just trying to make sure that we're spending our time wisely. And I know that a lot of times I'm going to come up with comments and statements that, seem critical and aggressive, but I'm here to make a difference. And if I don't challenge certain things, I don't feel like, things are ever going to change. So I just wanted to convey that from my perspective. And I didn't know if John had any thoughts about, well, how he feels about it. So I just wanted to throw it out there.
I can comment and just say that I think that those are great takeaways to bring to for the offsite discussion about the strategic framework and initiatives. I want to highlight too that it's strategic framework and initiatives, so it's together. And I think as we take, I think one key thing for the entire board is that this offsite is going to be critically important to attend and to be a part of and to be engaged with. And I think that what you bring up is things that we need to highlight and lock into. And maybe the solution is to have more direct things that have to be achieved and a comparable like we do on the BOR side. But I don't think this is not the forum to make that discussion. So I think we take this as a point to bring to the offsite and to include, I believe we're going to do surveys with the board to make sure we get feedback from the board for those topics and how we bring them out. Mr. Grable, you have any?
No, I just want to, I appreciate the comments. Always, I always appreciate all comments. I think that we do need to have earnest debate. I think we have a fiduciary duty to do so. I will state, I believe that allocator to best-in-class investor has served this program well. I think that it has pushed us to continuously improve in multiple dimensions. And I think I'll just state it now. I'm concerned about checklists for the sake of, a good example of that is last year we introduced the new fee metrics in the fee report last month. We had no idea last January that we were going to do that. That was something that had been in the lab. And if we're focused on a checklist over innovation, that entrepreneurial spirit potentially vanishes. And I think that we're better served, our members are better served by having notions of fee efficiency. But I do believe that we can we can evolve a framework, simplify it, double down on strategic asset allocation and elevate something that is in the best interest of the organization and our members and the funds. So I think it's positive.
Thank you. Okay, I make a motion to accept the staff recommendation as stated and to move forward with this plan.
Okay.
So moved and seconded.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Mead?
Yes.
Ms. Langton?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fay?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Gatto? Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
And Chair Kehoe?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. This brings us to item B, which is the Council of Institutional Investors Board nomination. I'd like to ask the board to nominate Mr. Grable as written in the memo.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. I see no comments, so let's please vote.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Mead?
Yes, and thank you for continued engagement with CII.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Langton?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fay? Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Gatto? Ms. Martinez? And Chair Kehoe?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
You have the full support for your election there. Okay, so just as a point of order, report A is actually going to become a non-consent item as we do need to make a motion on it. But let's go ahead and move on to now item C of the non-consent calendar, which is the 2025 investigation of experience for retirement benefit assumptions. And I'll let staff get set up for this presentation.
Chair, can you give us a couple minutes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't go anywhere.
Mine. Probably the 40 minutes. The last thing will leave the building.
Yeah, I have to physically do it. There.
And then
What
well,
time is lunch?
they're here.
Okay. I'll grab
I told Norma make sure that it's ready, but so she's getting yours out.
it. Okay.
And then the last item.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
Robert's told you what they want. It's Robert's, 3 years.
Okay.
Fixed. With this.
But they'll be able to tell us what they did. Okay.
Unless you want to jump to that. It's up to you. What's more important?
How are we looking for a quorum? I personally, unfortunately, apologize. I do have to leave at noon. Is there anyone else that has to leave? I just want to make sure we're gonna have a quorum. Martina, okay. Are we still good with that?
Yeah.
Because we have two action items that we have to take. One is going to be this presentation as well as giving direction on our labor negotiations. So we'll still have a quorum. Okay.
Good morning, Chair Kehoe and Board of Investment Trustees. My name is Ted Granger. I'm the Chief Financial Officer here at LACERA. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my comments while the actuaries continue to get set up. We're here today to obtain approval of the experience study report by Milliman for 2025. This includes the actuarial assumptions and methods. Apologize. I'm also here to introduce the speakers. Next to me is Nick Collier from Milliman. He's one of our lead consulting actuaries. He should be a familiar face, and also Craig Glide, a familiar face. He's another lead consultant, a consulting actuary from Milliman. At the end of the table is Brent Bannister. He may be new to some of you. Brent is from CAVMAC Consulting. He's another consulting actuary for LACERA, but his scope is a little bit different. He performs the actuarial reviews or audits of Milliman's work during the triennial cycle. So that would be for this cycle for 2025. Again, we are here to obtain approval of the assumptions so Milliman can move forward to prepare the actual evaluation report for June 30, 2025. We're also here to for Brent to provide his presentation so that the board can obtain a little bit of confidence or assurance from the actual auditor that the actual process is sound. And I'll let Brent address that in a little bit more detail. A couple of quick housekeeping items. One is the actual funding policy. We are going to apply the 2024 funding policy that the board approved back in October. We felt like that policy didn't require any updates for this particular 2025 cycle. However, we will take a look at that policy in about 3 years, which is what we normally do. And so we'll look at that in about 2027 timeframe, and that policy will be available for the 2028 cycle when we do the experience study next time. So we'll use the 2024 policy for the 25 cycle, and we'll update it for the next round. And in terms of the county, we did send the draft report that Milliman prepared to Los Angeles County for review. They did have their consulting actuary, Chiron, review the report, and they gave us sort of the verbal thumbs up yesterday afternoon. The county had intended to prepare a formal letter. The county has many, many competing priorities, as some of you may know, and they were not able to get us that letter. But again, we did speak directly with the CEO's office yesterday, and they said that they were comfortable with the recommendations that are before the board today. So we thought that was a positive item. And finally, if we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the roadmap, I will quickly walk through this roadmap. In September, we started the process with the experience study, where we gave the board an educational session regarding assumption setting primarily. In October, Milliman discussed the economic assumptions with the board. And today we are, here in January, we are looking at the draft report. Millman will dive into some of the demographic assumptions in today's discussion, so we don't want to forget those. Again, we're looking at economic assumptions, demographic assumptions, and actuarial methods. We're hoping to come back to the board in March to get the valuation approved. And theoretically, the valuation may recommend updates to contribution rates. That would be both for the legacy members as well as the Pepper members. In addition, contribution rates will most likely be updated for the employer as well. I should say employers as well. So with that, we would need to go to the Board of Supervisors to get approval of those updated contribution rates to become effective July 1. So we'll do that in May. And then finally, Milliman will come back in the summertime for the annual risk assessment report. And so that's pretty much our roadmap for the next 6 months or so. Unless there's any questions for me, I'm going to go ahead and let Nick get started.
Perfect. And before we do that, unfortunately, I do have to step out. So Miss Me will be chairing the remainder of the meeting. And please forgive me for having to leave early. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Kehoe.
All right, if we can move forward on the slides. This is our triennial review of the assumptions. Basically, we're going to try to true up our assumptions based on recent experience and forecasts and make these recommendations. Ted kind of laid out the timeline here. Obviously, we've provided the draft experience study report, which has all the details of maybe more than you can possibly ever want. That's part of the agenda. We're going to try to summarize that today, and with a goal of getting the assumptions adopted for use in the evaluation next year. I mean, in March. So moving forward on the slides, one more. Just real quickly, actual methods are a key part to our evaluation. We've reviewed them. What they're doing what we want them to do, and that is they're making progress towards funding and also with relatively stable contribution rates. So things are working well, so we're not recommending any changes here. So I am going to skip on 2 slides to the economic assumptions. As Ted said, we talked about the economic assumptions back in October. We went into those details, so I'm going to spare you the details here, just do a real quick refresher. As you recall, we say time and time again, investment return assumption is one of the key drivers. If that changes, that really changes a lot of our calculations. If you think about the discount rate, when you're funding benefits or project these benefits to be paid, however they get paid by your current assets, earnings on those assets, and contributions. If the earnings on the assets are expected to be less, then your contributions have to go up and vice versa. So changing the investment return will change your contributions significantly. At this time, we are not recommending a change in that. The next 2, national price inflation and local price inflation, are just outlooks on inflation. And I'm going to talk about them on the next slide. And then the other key economic assumptions are all related to inflation, which is salary increases, which inflation has a big impact, payroll increases, and also retiree COLAs, which are directly related to Los Angeles area inflation. So one change we recommended, and we are recommending, is the national price inflation. Otherwise, often you refer to as CPIU. Currently, the valuation, last year's valuation at 2.75% for assumed inflation. We were recommending a reduction to 2.5. We realized that over the last couple of years, national price inflation has been higher, but it has mitigated somewhat, and all the forecasts that we're looking at, or at least most of the forecasts we're looking at, long-term ones are projecting 2.5% or less. So we are recommending a reduction to 2.5%. Next one is local price inflation. That is 2.75. We were recommending no change there. And the reason for that is the national price the LA area inflation over the last 30 years has averaged about 20 basis points higher than national price inflation. So we think it's prudent to keep the local price inflation at the 2.75. All the COLAs and the salary and payroll increases are all tied directly to local price inflation. Since we're recommending no change there, we're recommending no change to the other ones. Last one is the investment return assumption, which I already mentioned. We're recommending no change there. We talked about this a lot last time. We did a lot of analysis on the expected return. That's our best estimate of what the investment return is going to be, is using capital market assumptions. We used our capital market assumptions to project future returns over 10 and 20-year periods. We also looked at Makita's, and we also looked at a survey of other investment consultants. Over the 10-year period, it was right about 7%. It was somewhat higher over the 20-year period. We think it's prudent to keep it at 7%, and that's going to be our recommendation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Craig to talk more about the demographic assumptions.
Quick question
Yeah.
right before that. With the tariffs that have been on and off, on again, off again, and seeing lower inflation, how do we get to a lower inflation number if everyone's worried about it going the opposite direction?
A lot of that's going to be short-term volatility. We don't claim to be experts on inflation, but the forecast you see from Social Security and Cleveland Fed and other experts on inflation are lower, not necessarily over the next year, but over that longer period, 20 years that we're using to fund benefits. So we are recommending that be lower. But as I said, to keep a level of prudence, we're recommending keeping the local price inflation at 2.75.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Fay, for the question. I was thinking about the same, but from observation for the past year, right, we thought inflation will shoot high with the tariff, but it didn't. So things like how the tariff will impact the inflation is really hard to predict, you know. So I'm thinking, I talked to business owner that does supply chain. Surprisingly, you know, they say the tariffs actually got trickled down in each level in the supply chain. People observe the cost. So that's just one data point. And the other thing is, I think this study we're doing it every 3 years, right? So we're gonna review it again, you know, see what's gonna happen in the next couple of years. Maybe the next review, we might change, you know, based on what will happen in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I know within even with the tariffs, they just released a CPI increase for 2025, and it was about 2.7%. So even with all that, it wasn't much higher. So
right. And the other factor is interest rate could affect, you know, inflation as well. And we're anticipating possibly interest rate going to cut. So that might have impact. Let's see how this play out. We might, yeah. So, but thank you. Thank you both.
Good afternoon. So I'm going to cover the demographic assumptions and our review of the demographic experience of LACERA. This is the first time that we've talked to you directly about the demographics back in October. Nick talked about the economics and the methods. So this is the first time we'll have talked to you directly about this. All the information, again, is in our report. So in the demographic assumptions, this is where we're really looking at the experience and the behavior of the actual LACERA population. And when did people, how long have people lived? How long have they stayed employed? At what sort of rates have they left employment with LACERA? Rates have they retired? And we use all these so that we can project forward the amount of benefits that we think are going to be paid by LACERA over a period of time. So this slide here, we summarize the main demographic assumptions. Just to go over these briefly, starting at the top left, mortality is one of the key demographic assumption that we have. It's obviously that LACERA is paying benefits to people in their retirement. They're going to be paid for a long time, for people's lifetimes. So it's kind of important that we have a fairly robust assumption for how long people are going to live and their life expectancy. And so that's one of the key assumptions. Mortality comes in two pieces. There's the base table, and there's also a projection scale. Over time, people typically tend to live, their life expectancy improves. So a 70-year-old today tends to have a longer life expectancy than a 70-year-old 20 years ago. And so we also have a mortality projection scale that's built in there that sort of aims to project over time how life expectancy will change. The merit salary assumption is another key demographic assumption. Salary is made up of 3 components. The other 2 components are the economics that Nick discussed. This merit salary piece, this is the piece that's really tied to individual active employees and just tries to predict that over a person's career, how does their salary change? So typically people earlier in their careers might see higher annual increases, and then as they progress in their career, their pay increases tend to decrease. And so the merit salary assumption takes that into account. The other 3 pieces here are tied to how long will active employees stay employed, when will they retire, when will they otherwise leave employment. So we have an assumption for the rate at which people will retire due to service, an assumption for the rate they'll retire due to disability, and an assumption for, we're calling it termination here, but that's really an assumption for when people will leave for a reason other than death, disability, or retirement. So typically it's going to be voluntary terminations, but it kind of encapsulates all those other reasons that people will leave the active population. Next slide, please. So this gives you a flavor of just how we go about looking at the study. To reiterate, I mean, we're actually using LACERA's actual experience in the study here. We're reviewing what happened to the actual population and setting assumptions based on that experience. In this study, we've really looked at the last 3 triennial study periods. So we're looking at a 9-year period starting in 2016 through 2025. We also look at just the last 3-year period. But in general, we like to look at a slightly longer period so that because we can get some variance in short periods in behavior and experience, and we don't want to over rely on sort of anything that just happened in the last 3 years. We want to try and look at a longer period, smooth out some of that volatility and fluctuation. And so we find that helps us to maintain some more stable assumptions, and that leads to more stable contribution rates over time. And that's obviously one of the goals that we have in the funding of the plan. However, we don't want it to go to too long of a time period, because then we might start using some outdated experience that isn't necessarily going to be relevant going forward. And so we tend to look at that longer period and the shorter period in our analysis. In general, we're only recommending changes when both that longer period and the shorter period, there's evidence from both of those to suggest that the assumption might need to be changed. In this 9-year period, we also had in the middle of it, we had the pandemic. And so there was some different experience in that middle of that 9-year period. And so as actuaries, when we're looking at these studies, we tend to look at that and see if we need to make any adjustments to account for some of those, what we might call unusual sort of events that happened. So we looked at the experience both including that 3-year period and excluding that 3-year period, and we looked to see, would that make a material difference to our recommendations? And we found that really it wouldn't make a material difference to our recommendations. And so we just included all that data in the 9-year period. On the merit salary, we actually tend to also look at a slightly longer period. We look at a 15-year period there as well. We can get a lot of volatility in salary from year to year, and it can be sometimes it can be high for a period of time and then lower for a period of time. And so we find that looking at that longer period helps us to smooth out some of those ups and downs in the salary assumption and helps us to come up with a smoother assumption. Next slide, please. So I'm going to just touch on, I've got 3 sort of topics of the 3 specific assumptions and the experience that I wanted to touch on. The first one's mortality. As actuaries, we kind of have to talk to you about mortality because they'll take away our actuary cards if we don't. Just touching on mortality, first of all, the key takeaway here, I think, is that the Society of Actuaries publishes public plan-specific mortality tables where they collect data from systems all over the country, and they collate it and provides a sort of a larger group of experience that can be used, the specific to public plan experience. They carve that up into different sections. So they'll look at general members specifically, safety members specifically, and they'll give us different tables for each of those groups. So LACERA has been using a table that's called the PUBG, we're calling the PUBG and the PUB-S 2010 tables. That's the current assumption. There has been a new study that's been released by the Society of Actuaries that updates those tables, and they're the 2016 tables. That includes data from experience years 2013 through 2020. LACERA did participate in that round of the study. So LACERA's data is actually included in those tables that were released in that 2016 period. So basically, we are recommending that we update to those most recent public plan tables with adjustment to the safety members. We found that the safety member retiree experience that tended to the mortality rates were a bit lower than the table in general. And so we're just using a 90% scaling factor recommendation on the safety members to that general table.
Very interesting data.
Yes.
Mr. Gatto.
So 3 quick questions, and please feel free to be brief. First one is, so I read that mortality for the first time in the United States is generally not getting better, that for the first time in our history, we're seeing a decline in the duration of people's lives. I'm curious if that is something that the actuaries have confirmed, and obviously for pensions, don't want to sound morbid, but that's generally perceived as a positive for pensions because of the duration of payment of benefits. So that's question 1. Question 2 is, did I hear you right that COVID did not make any change, or it really didn't register as a blip on these figures? And the third question is, I realize we make these specific to the LA County retirees because that's our population. Just curious if there is and I think some of our members will appreciate this, if is it particularly stressful to be a firefighter, for example, in LA County? And so we have slightly different, or possibly our demographics make it so LA County has some unique traits. So those are my 3 questions, please. Feel free.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, life expectancy, there definitely has been some changes, and they're depending from birth, the life expectancy has decreased somewhat in recent times. When we're looking at this, we're looking mostly at people that are already retirees, so they've already survived to 65. But the chart on the bottom right of this slide here actually shows you the difference between the 2010 and the 2016 table. So yes, just change in assumption for a 65-year-old, males is 0.2 years less, but females 0.5 years higher. On your second question, definitely there was a bit of an uptick in mortality for the population and LACERA's population as a whole. But my comment, but it was if we included it or excluded it, our recommendation of using this table going forward wouldn't have changed. And the third question was safety members. I'm sorry, in some of the specifics on LACERA's
just
members.
how our population differs from, let's say the San Bernardino County pension.
I haven't looked at that specifically. I think compared to sort of the other local systems, I would expect there's a lot of more similarities than there is more differences potentially to the national experience.
Yeah, I can actually take that a lot of times on our audits. We review other systems, and we've compiled like a database of about 10 different California county systems, and the life expectancy is like between 85 and 86 or something. I mean, all of them are really close. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of difference, at least in the actuaries' expectations.
Gotcha.
So
I was trying to find the county to move to live like this. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
And I would just say those were great questions.
They were great questions.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm going to get excited about mortality, but like Craig said, this is like on your first question. This is mortality for retirees. Like some of the studies kind of, it's like drug overdoses and stuff, and that's been driving some of the things like that. And that's not hopefully going to affect your retirees as much as, so anyway. All right, sorry, turn it back to you, Greg.
No, yes, thank you. You helped preempt a lot of my comments. And so I think the only last thing I would say on this slide is, so I mentioned also the mortality improvement scale. So we're recommending changes to these base tables from the 2010 tables to the 2016 tables. On the mortality improvement scale, we're recommending no change to that. The most recent published improvement scale was in 2021. There's not been a more recent one since then, and we think that's still appropriate to continue using going forward. Next slide, please. Obviously, there's also some mortality amongst active members. Younger members that will be much lower, but again, just a lot of the same narrative here. But we're just recommending updating to the most recent tables, and we'll change the adjustments that we make to those tables. We'll tweak those a little bit. One of the takeaways is on the general members. Using the new tables, we'll actually use a sort of less adjustments, less scaling than we used previously, but on the safety members, we're actually going to use a little bit more adjustment than we used before. So on active safety members, the LACERA's experience is actually for higher mortality rates among safety members than the overall tables. Next slide, please. Touching on the merit salary increases, I mentioned earlier that people earlier in their career tend to have higher merit increases than later in their career. And so the blue bars in this chart kind of highlight that. That's the actual experience of LACERA over the last 15 years, 2010 through 2025. So you see early in the career, the merit component of salary increases is up around 6%. But then as people get later in their career, it drops down to more around 0.5% is that merit component. This is where the green line here shows where the current assumption is, what we expected those to be. And the yellow line, which is a bit higher, shows what we're proposing that assumption should be. So we've typically seen over the last few studies that salary increases have tended to be a bit higher than our assumption. And so we're recommending here that we increase that assumption to sort of closely reflect what's happened over the last 15 years. I will note as well that if we just look at the 2016 to 19 period, the merit increases were actually a bit higher than they were over the whole 15-year period. But if we end up, like I said, so sort of this merit increases, sometimes we have higher periods followed by lower periods. And so we don't want to go all the way up to that 2016 to 2025 period in case that's going to be followed potentially by a lower period. And so we're looking for a long-term sort of projection and average here.
Yeah, but I would note that, yeah, this trend has been happening for a number of years. And I think Craig was pushing me to go higher last time. And I was like, hold off, let's see if it reverts back. And it did not. So that's why this is really probably the most significant change we're recommending. So it is obviously higher salaries means higher benefits. So higher benefits to be funded.
Thank you for the last sentence. The comment I was about to ask that, what's the implication to our plan with a higher salary increase? I see this a smaller impact from the contribution side, right? It's little, but the payout side probably much larger. So I guess the implication is that we have a higher obligation of the salary increase.
Right. Higher salaries will lead to higher benefits. Yeah. So going forward, yes, higher obligations.
Thank you.
Yep. Next slide, please. So the similar chart for safety members this time. Safety members, one of the differences on safety members compared to general members is that we saw here that in the early years of people's careers below 10 years, the actual increases were actually a bit lower than what our assumption had been. But once people moved beyond about 10 years of service, again, they were receiving higher merit increases than the assumption had expected. So we're recommending that in those shorter years of service, we actually will lower the assumption slightly, but then we have an increase to it for people once they get beyond about 10 years of service. This is again, looking at the 2010 to 2025 period, you'll see that we're not matching right up to the top of the blue bars, just like we were on the general. There's a bit more variance here. So we're not trying to be that specific and say that we think that, yes, we can exactly predict in the future at certain years, people will get exactly X. So we're looking at, once we get beyond about 10 years, we're looking at just that stable increase on the merit salary.
Yeah, and I'd note this is another one we've done comparisons with other county systems, which are clearly competitors, and this is pretty similar to what we've seen in other systems.
Next slide, please. So looking at the retirement assumptions, I mentioned we have assumptions for retirement from due to service and retirement due to disability. So the left chart here is service and the right is disability. One of the big things that we have observed over time is that, especially among safety members, members can retire for service, go through receive a service retirement, and after they have retired, they will then apply for disability retirement, which will be awarded sometime after their retirement, and then their benefit will end up being reclassified as a disability retirement. What we've done in our study here is we want to try and capture that ultimate reason for the retirement, because the continuance benefits are different and the mortality experience amongst members can be different depending on whether they retired for service or disability. And so what we actually have seen is that due to those reclassifications post an initial retirement date, if we use that ultimate retirement, that our assumption for whether people, if they retire for service, because there's a high percentage of people retiring for disability, the actual experience on service retirements is quite a bit lower than what we were expecting. But we see the opposite has happened on disability, that there's more disabilities than the assumption expected. In total, there actually is pretty close, because if you look at these charts, you see on the service retirement, the gap, the green line's higher, that was the expected, is higher than the yellow line, but you see the opposite on the service, disability. If we combine those all together, the yellow and the green lines in total would be much closer together. So really, this is just adjusting the assumptions to reflect people's ultimate reason for retirement, which captures all those post-retirement reclassifications to disability.
Yeah, and this is one we knew something was going on, and we made some adjustments last time, but we did a much more comprehensive analysis this year, and I found out it's a pretty big change, because usually you're not going to see this big of a change, but that was really, like Craig said, that the number of reclassifications that happened beyond 6 months and a year, going from service retirement disability, was very significant on the safety group.
And I'd also give some credit to LACERA staff as well, just in the data that we receive on the files, the consistency and of the data that we're receiving that identifies those changes and whether people, the type of retirement they had, that over the years that has improved significantly. So I thank the staff for that. Next slide, please. And my final slide on the demographics, just touching on retirement as well. The charts we looked at on the prior page that had just had age on the x-axis. What we find with retirement is that when a person retires, or the rate at which they retires, depends on not just their age. Obviously, as people that are older tend to retire at higher rates, but it doesn't depend just on age. It also depends on service. And so a person who's 55 with 30 years of service tends to retire at a higher rate than a person who's 55 with 10 years of service, which makes a lot of sense because they'll have a larger benefit if they've got that 30 years of service. And so we want to account for that in the assumption. We have been doing that already. We're making some recommendations for adjustments on those rates for the different groups. But these charts, what they show you here is just within those 5-year age groupings, so the rates, how those rates of retirement differ for people based on their length of service. So just looking at the left for general members, if you look at the group for age people that are 65 to 69, the dark blue bar on the left is for the people with less than 20 years of service. Moving to the light blue bar is people with 30 or more years. And so you can just see that those years of service really impact the rates at which people retire, with the yellow diamond being the average for the whole group. So we're continuing to use that assumption that service is a big factor in the rates determining when people will retire. And so we're recommending some changes to those assumptions But I just wanted to remind you that those two, age and service, both impact the rates of retirement. And before I hand back to Nick to talk about what this means financially, if there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to take them.
Yeah, so if we move forward, 2 slides. Yeah, Craig obviously spent a lot of time on, most of his time on the assumptions that make the biggest difference. And as trustees, we're making these recommendations, but we also want you to be aware of the financial impact. We don't want you to make decisions based upon it, but we want you to be aware. And this on the table here shows the summary of the results, and summary, I use that loosely because there are a lot of numbers here. So I'm going to try to just highlight what's going on. We start on the first line is the June 30, 2024 valuation. So that's what we calculated last year. Key being the funded ratio, which, as I think you're aware, is the value of the actual value of the assets divided by the liabilities. So that means LACERA has a little bit over 80% of assets compared to the accrued liabilities on hand. And we talked about the contribution rate, part of that funds the ongoing benefits, and then part of it makes up that shortfall between the assets and liabilities. So the next number is the employer contribution rate, which, as I said, funds the ongoing benefits and funds makes up the unfunded amount on a amortized basis. So those numbers are 80.9% and 25.6%. If you take it down to the very bottom, you see we're projecting a small increase of about 1% to 81.8% unfunded ratio. So that's going up. The employer contribution rate, we're projected to stay about the same, from 25.6 to about 25.7. So it seems like all good, very vanilla. But we should point out, we actually have, if ignoring the assumption change, we have good investment results from the past years and from this year. And as you remember, we smooth those. So the gains and losses, in this case gains, we recognize them systematically over years. And as good news comes in, that lowers contribution rates and increases the funded ratio. So because of the assumption changes, that amount, if adopted, would dampen that effect. You can see the total recommended change, which is the second to last line. That's what the impact of the assumptions is a negative 0.7%. So just 0.7% lower than we would have been otherwise. And on the contribution rate, it's 80 basis points. And you can see that's mainly made of the merit salary scale and the mortality that Craig spent a lot of time talking about. So those are the key drivers. So overall, compared to last year, we're going to be a pretty similar spot this year. We still have to do the evaluation to crunch all the numbers, but that kind of gives you an idea of the impact. That is the impact on the employers. We should need to talk about the members too. Now, the employers had that good news on the investment returns, offsetting some of the increases due to the new assumptions if they're adopted. Now, if we move more forward one slide, we'll look at the member contribution rates, because we want you to be aware of that, because there is going to be an increase. If you can move forward one slide. You can see the simple numeric in the table on the right hand side. As you know, the legacy members, which most predominantly General D and Safety B are your legacy group. Their rates vary based on entry age. So we've picked a couple of the main ones. And you can see it's about a 40 basis point increase if these new assumptions are adopted. So if they were paying 12% of pay, they would pay 12.4% of pay under these new assumptions. We still have to run the valuation to get the final numbers, but that should give you a pretty good idea of what those numbers would be. The Safety B entry age 35 is a lot less, but most of your Safety B folks have entry ages in the 20s. So I think a 40 basis point increase is a pretty good estimate of what you're going to see. As you know, General E is the other legacy plan, but they're not contributory, so it doesn't impact them. And then the Pepper members want to talk about them too. They have a lot, whereas actually, let's move over to the bars on the left. Talking about the legacy, what's caused that? It's almost all the merit salary, which is the blue, that's the majority, and then mortality, the purple had a small impact. So you can see those are pretty simple. The legacy members' contribution rates are based on investment return assumption, mortality, and salary increases. And you can see with the change in mortality and salary increases, that's why you're seeing the increase. Now, the Pepper members, all the assumptions affect their contribution because they pay half the normal cost. And there's a lot going on, which isn't necessarily the same, but general members are actually projecting a small decrease. And the primary is the dark red, which is the service retirement, slightly lower service retirement, which is lowering the normal cost. So we're expecting that to cause the decrease, mostly offset by the merit salary increases, which is causing an increase. So you can see general D is what we're projecting, about a 10 basis point decrease. That'll definitely vary once we actually have the final numbers, but you can expect that to be a very small decrease or increase. Safety C, we're projecting an increase of 27 basis points. On the flip side, where the service retirement costs a decrease for the safety members, the service retirement and disability, that caused an increase. And that was the biggest increase. That was actually offset partly, if you remember, with the national price inflation. It really only affects the valuation one place. The national price inflation is CPI is what the Pepper compensation limit goes up by. So I'm projecting having a lower national price inflation that projects the Pepper compensation limit goes up at a lower rate, which projects lower benefits, which projects lower costs. So that offsets it somewhat, but you can see it's about a 0.25% of pay increase. So that is the member contribution rate financial impact, and that concludes our formal presentation. We're happy to take questions, and we just ask you to adopt the recommended assumptions.
Any question from anyone?
I would like to ask Trustee Me if we could transition over to Brent. I think he has some comments for the board as well.
Sure.
Okay, if we could go to slide 39, please. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Just, real quickly kind of discuss what we have done. This is a little bit unusual. LACERA, I think, takes a very proactive step in your actuarial work to have it thoroughly reviewed regularly. And the experience study in particular, very rarely is this audited. It's maybe reviewed, but not with the level of work that we do. And so to start with, we actually go through, we take the data and try to confirm the numerical results. It's a lot of work, but it's that assurance. We do it in an independent manner. I don't expect my numbers to match Milliman's numbers. If I'd get nervous if they did, I want to do it differently and get to the same general idea as opposed to just simply checking their math. I'm pretty comfortable they can push the buttons on a calculator. I want to give it a different thought process. And so we do that. We independently tabulate all the numbers and don't match, but we get close to where we can say, yes, the way the data and the tabulations are being done makes sense. We then went through, we looked at all the economic assumptions that Milliman recommended. We provided some feedback. Again, by the time we get here, I'm not going to come up with any surprises for you because we've talked with Milliman along the way and suggested ideas where we thought they were needed. In the case of the economic assumptions several months ago. And we believe that the assumptions are very appropriate given kind of the actuarial process, the way they're going to be used, what other systems across the country that I'm familiar with are using. You're very much in what I would view as an appropriate set of economic assumptions. The next slide is real briefly, again, we looked at the demographic assumptions. Those are much more specific to LACERA. So it's a little hard to say, well, here's what I see in other places, but it can still draw on that. What kinds of changes have been occurring elsewhere around the country and things like that. And again, we see what's being done here is appropriate. Milliman did think through what about COVID and handled that appropriately. So again, we think that the demographic assumptions are fine. The methods, they kind of went through real quickly because nothing really was changing. Again, very standard, appropriate methods to be using for actuarial work. So again, we're very comfortable with that. And then the final slide that I have, we also went through the report, just said, is this report communicating things well? As you might expect, different actuaries have different ideas and gotta add some value. So even if I like what they're doing, if I can think of another way to do it, I may throw that out there in the report, just because trying to always think about, is there any way to do this better, or it might just spur some thoughts. So again, the work seems very solid, very comfortable with it. And so that's kind of the bottom line is we're comfortable that these assumptions and methods that are being recommended would be very appropriate for the use by LACERA for your assessment of your pension fund's health.
Thank you for the presentation. I definitely appreciate, this cost reference and then the vote of confidence there. And then thank you, Milliman, for the study. I think this study is really important to help us, keep in check on our fund. Is it in a healthy place? Is it sustainable? What change we need to make in contribution, right? So this is really critical. And thank you for that. I'm gonna open up question to my colleague here. Anyone have any question? Any takeaway from the study? No? I find really interesting takeaway for myself. I compare the mortality of the women and men. I think women should marry a younger husband. A couple years younger, so that they can keep each other's company 100% at home, so just a thought. So if there's no question, I think we need a motion and I go to vote. Is that the second and go to vote? Is that correct? I will move this to motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Mee?
Yes.
Ms. Langton?
So I had just raised my hand at the very end because it's on the report calendar and I just want to make sure we're okay voting on it. I know the documentation is very clear that it's a recommendation. I just wanted to run that by council.
Yes, taking action complies with the Brown Act. We do have a statement on our agenda that action may be taken on any item.
Ms. Langton?
Perfect. Thank you. Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fay?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Gata?
Aye.
Ms. Martinez?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next on the agenda, I believe, is the Browns Act report. Does anyone have a question on that report? Okay, all right. Follow that is all the self-evaluation from our consultant. First of all, I want to say thank you to our partners. All the consultants is our partner. And then we also consider you as part of our organization. We always say that we are a learning organization, right? So I'm expecting the same thing to our extended family, a consultant to learn with us, to improve together with us. And then I think feedback is important for the learning, right? So I would encourage, maybe outside the board meeting to have communication if it's not already done, to get feedback. So consultant, my understanding is that consultant work reports to the board's work of the staff. So have communication ongoing, see how we can improve together and continue to work together and have a successful year ahead of us. But thank you for all the partners here, consultant. Anyone have question on those evaluation? No question. Okay. What else do we have on the agenda? Does anyone have anything else that want to ask on the remaining report? I think the remaining is all for your information report. So let me know if anyone want to pull any report and have question. Wow, no question. Great. So should I go around the room now?
Items for staff review, any items?
Yeah, any item for staff review?
Or any item for future agendas? We can do the good of the order now.
Great. So I will start it from the go ahead. I see Mr. Guerrero. No?
I was gonna go last, but I'm happy to
Okay,
go first. It's up to.
go
the-
ahead. Let's start it from you. This meeting is really different from other meeting.
Yes,
The order.
let me just get my, I want to introduce one new member of the team and 2 promotions. So, yes, okay. I want to introduce Eric Hu. Eric joined us a couple of weeks ago as an FA2 in our focus on private equity. He has a fantastic background in investment banking, in private equity, also worked for a private equity backed company. So I think that's really good perspective. I'm very impressed that, he's fluent in multiple languages, including Mandarin, French, as well as English. I struggle just with the English. And a very impressive educational background. I guess these are 2 schools that have yet to join the Big Ten, but probably will at some point in time, being Brown and Stanford. So once again, a very impressive background. I think that will be better with Eric as part of the team. So welcome aboard, Eric.
Welcome.
And I think one of the things that makes us in the strategic plan, one of the things that we focus on is, and it's in our investment beliefs, that people matter. And I think that, others kind of talk the talk. I think that we walk our talk. And one of the things that really makes us strong is that we add to the team with new additions such as Eric, and plus we have promotional opportunities for people in the team. And I think something that was mentioned in the Tide report last month is that for a team that hovers around 40 people, over the last 5 years or so, 15 people have been promoted, which is just an outstanding number. So we have 2 more promotions this month. The first is Catherine Tan. Catherine was promoted from an FA2 to an FA3 in portfolio analytics. Catherine has kind of more initials and more certifications. She's a CFA, a CPA, a certified fraud examiner. So I think that having people that really take an interest in terms of growing their careers, investing in themselves says a lot about the type of people and what they bring to the organization and our members. So thank you, Catherine. We're very excited about this position. And then in addition to Catherine, Jason Choi, I think Jason's in here as well. There's Jason. Jason was promoted from an FA2 also to an FA3 in his home group, which is credit and risk mitigation. Jason once again, is a CFA, has a great background in investing, working not just in credit and risk mitigation, but in real estate, also having worked for a registered investment advisor. And one of the things that stands out to me about Jason is we all remember the offsite from last year, except for Mr. Fay, but he was there in spirit. And Jason was part of the team that worked on crypto. And the speaker backed out the week before, but no one here knew it because Jason said, "I'll do the presentation," and did all that primary research that went to the board was because of initiative. So if you look at the initiative that Catherine has, that Jason has, I think that really speaks, really loudly. It's that clarion call in terms of the team that we have that works for our members. So congratulations to Eric, Catherine, and Jason.
Congratulations. It's always really, how to say, motivating, excited to hear promotion happening within. I want to credit this to Mr. Graver's leadership, helping leading the team to grow, to thrive, and invest in people, right? That's how we win. We invest in the people. People is all we have. So great to see that. I have seen in the past couple of years too. A lot of you, I see you grow. I see you sit in front of here presenting. I see the improvement. I see you taking on question, all those growth that I witness is happening. So thank you, John, for your leadership and helping everyone grow in the team. So congrats again. With that, I'm gonna go around the room, starting from Miss Martinez. You know, that's right. Nothing. All right. Sounds good. Welcome back, Trustee Fei. The floor is yours.
I give it right back to you.
All right. Trustee Gibson, nothing. All right. And then Trustee Patrick Jones, nothing. Good. You good? All right. I guess we can adjourn the meeting.
We're gonna go into closed session.
Closed session. We have one more item need to vote, so we still have quorum. So
Just so in closed session, we have 2 FYI items for the investment office. If we're not gonna be addressing those, we can actually ask everybody to leave.
I have a question on item 1. Really simple question. I'm sure it's a piece of cake.
We need to clear the room.
Anyone else have question on the 2 items? Okay, I guess just me. The